Hello out there, this is Dr. Mike, and we're here today over at our friends Gypsy Java. And we got some guests. First of all, I'm sure y'all remember Marty, the man that makes it all happen, the engineer, the machine head. And of course, our guests today they'll have to tell you exactly what their belief systems are, but we've got Dylan and we've got Alex. And we're going to be talking about some stuff like Satanism, Luciferianism, and some other theological-based stuff. And so, gentlemen, go ahead and introduce yourselves, too.
All right, this is Dylan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And I'm Alex. It's good to be here.
All right, way to go. And that's Marty, the man with the headphones on the other side there. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
Doing good.
All
Nice
right.
and straightforward.
All right.
Glad everyone's having a good day. Let's
Yep.
go ahead and let's see if we can raise some hackles somewhere.
So what exactly do you guys believe in? Tell me about it.
Well, for myself, I'm what most people would consider an omniist. I view religions as something to be analyzed. I believe that there's spirits and there's energy and that there's entities other than humans that may have come across the planet at some point. But
I agree.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're gods or anything that needs to be worshipped, and we may not be able to understand them whatsoever, so looking for the truth in religions is really what omniism is about. It's taking everything collectively.
Excellent.
And I'm more of a spiritual type, but I do follow and practice Luciferian Satanism, and I do practice vampirism at certain types of times.
Okay. I've always heard the vampiric aspect of Satanism as called psychic vampires. Is that correct, or is that a different thing?
For Levians, psychic vampires are not good people. I don't really incorporate vampirism with Satanism because it just doesn't seem like it belongs. Seems too stereotypical. I do also belong to a small community called the Vampire Community, but that's a different system on its own.
Yeah, I understand, like, there's the Goths and the vampires, and there's Luciferian, and there's others that say they're not Luciferian, they're Satanists. And so I imagine there's quite a few communities in the mystic world, I guess you call it.
That'd be the best way to put it. Call it holistic, metaphysic. Go on ahead and take your pick. It's a pretty broad rainbow at this point.
Well, I agree with what you were saying about entities, whether they're interdimensional or whether they're interplanetary or whatever it might be. I certainly believe there have been different types of peoples, spirits, that dating back since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I have to agree with you on that point. I'm not much into organized religions.
Understandable on that one. That's one of the reasons why I believe the way that I do, because organized religion isn't always correct because it's corrupted by human influence.
Yep.
If you just look at the sheer facts and look at what can be explained, whether people want to see it or not, then it's simple to break it down.
Well, this will probably be the show that gets me excommunicated from the Catholic Church, but that's okay, you know.
I'm already there.
So I've got that going for me.
Yeah. Hey, everything's got consequences, right? And sometimes the bad is a good. So, now, there's another man that's supposed to be here today also?
Yes, unfortunately, he could not make it. He is a Luciferian theistic Satanist, but he's not feeling well, evidently. So it's unfortunate, Luke. We wish you were here, but...
Oh, come on. Now, that puts me in a very bad position. Because I went out and I got a Powerball and a Mega Million and a Lotto, and I wanted somebody to, like, I mean, if you can he's the one that could summons demons and stuff, right?
He does practice some demonology as part of his theistic Satanism, so I'm
more of practice the conjuring, the demonic forces, and...
So who's going to take care of my Lotto tickets?
You're going to go on ahead and have to leave it up to Lady Luck just like the rest of us.
Oh, that sucks out loud in public with slurping sounds. That sucks. I wish you could have been here. I would have been like, hey, show me what you got, man. Here, Pick one. I don't care.
Hey, flip a penny.
Shit. Yeah, I have that kind of luck all the time. So what do you have a... I guess I want to ask how you... Okay, let's back up a minute. Got a lot of questions. You had said earlier that you're into the history of pretty much all the religions.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at religions, they generally have several key factors behind all of them. It centers around a non-human being, or as a human who is viewed as having a non-human presence. They all believe in some form of energetic transmission, whether it's explained scientifically or whether it's explained spiritually, or whether it's something that hadn't really been conceptualized at the time. Zoroastrianism, the worship of the sun, of heat, incorporated a lot of really unique beliefs for its time, but it was the worship of life, which is energy, which in itself is what could technically be construed as the core of spirituality.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I don't know how much time and effort you've put into like Islam, and I can say this because my friends from Morocco are practicing Islam, and they were telling me something about why the crescent moon is on the symbol for it, and they said the moon is worshipped as part of... I mean, I don't understand that. I thought it was like Allah and Muhammad.
I don't know too terribly much about that aspect of Islam, but it is easy to see how that could be part of it.
Right.
When Islam was, I will say, developed by the Prophet Muhammad,
yes,
then he also incorporated traditions from the area at the time. So you have the jinn, you have evil spirits, you still have witchcraft, sorcery. They are very, very deeply rooted in their spirituality, and some people would view the really devout people's views as strange, like how the left hand is still unclean.
Right.
Although that's also for other reasons than some areas of the Middle East.
The Hebrew, the Jewish people, in theirs isn't. So what was it you were just saying? Talking about magic and witchcraft. They have the entire Kabbalah, which is a book they study, which I was explained to me that it was all about magic.
Yes,
and
it is.
Summoning and stuff like that. How does that work? You say you believe in God, which is supposed to be the perfect, holy entity, yet you practice a form of magic with it.
See, this is where the development of Christianity gets interesting.
Okay.
Up until the King James Version of the Bible, really magic was clearly separated between good magic and evil magic. So there were still some sects, the Western Orthodox, if I remember correctly, still actively practiced a lot of old Judaic traditions. And when that version of the Bible was made public as one of the first common trade versions, then it was all lumped into witchcraft.
Okay.
But for a traditional Hebrew, there's the Kabbalah, there's the Tree of Life.
Right.
You have different areas of magic because there was still good magic. Healing, miracles, that was considered a type of magic. There were even other household spirits, creatures that were summoned.
Yes. In a lot of the Celtic and Gaelic and all that stuff, yes.
But also in original, traditional Judaic tradition,
Christian,
too.
Yes. Now, let's go back there for just a second. The original, I don't know if I should say original or not, but Dark Ages, Middle Ages, the Catholic Church did in fact have monks that practiced black magic, and they had a black mass because they were like giving props not just to God, but hey, give a little bit of recognition to Lucifer too, because we don't want to piss anyone off. And they sold indulgences. How do you say that, Marty? When they sold indulgences? Thank you. Where you could do things like have sex with a kid, you could like steal, you could burn, you could rape, but if you bought that indulgence, you were forgiven.
And they also had the Sin Eater.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good point. He could take in the sin and eat it, and you'd go straight to heaven.
See, when it goes to areas of occult in Catholicism, that was largely due to, a mixture of things. You have the development of Christianity as it was forming, spreading outwards into the Yeats, into the Gaul areas, going into the British Isles. So you're picking up a lot of those traditions too.
Right.
But there's also areas in the Bible, if you look at it, where it says that you yourself should never disparage the devil, Satan, any other spirit. It's supposed to be done in God's name. So you are supposed to still technically honor spirits that would be viewed as evil. I think it's in the letters to Timothy that there's a quote, and it was removed because it was taken out as part of the Apocrypha from Exodus, where the Archangel Michael was arguing with the devil over the body of Moses because the devil was saying that belonged to earth, but Michael did not say, "I rebuke you." He had said, "The Lord rebukes you," because Moses was a man of God.
Okay.
So they would actively practice all spirits. And then, of course, there's the development of demonology during that time, too, where they were still gaining more knowledge of the infernal spirits, because back then, Dark Ages, there wasn't a mass transport of information. Everything was small and localized. A lot of demonic grimoires were written that way, and you'll see areas where they match, and you'll see areas where they don't, depending on how the information spread.
Now,
Right, because when you think about it, a lot of the rituals are very similar. For example, in Catholicism and other forms of Christianity, you've got a temple, but within the temple you have an altar. In Catholicism, beneath the altar is a relic.
Right,
Okay?
exactly.
And a relic is actually a piece of a saint's body, which lies underneath that altar.
That sounds pretty gross. I wonder if they got it after it was freeze-dried or if it was, like, rotted its way down.
Well, who knows? I'm not in charge of that part, but...
You know what? I'm pretty sure back then they wouldn't have minded the smell that much, so...
Dude,
It could have been in the stew.
Right, that'll work.
But if you think about it, even Christ is talking about, this is my blood, this is my body. So the rituals are very similar.
Well, when you just brought up something that kind of sparked a thought in me. In the Old Testament, when it talks about Solomon, and I know there's an occult book, because many years ago, before I became a doctor, I was a police officer down in the Springs area, and did that for 10 years. And we used to confiscate books. Dude, you gotta pay attention here. I got a little spread here to tell you. First of all, we used to take books like the 6th and 7th book of Solomon, and they referenced it to in the Bible where King Solomon summoned demons to work on the temple.
The 72 spirits of the wind, yep.
So
76.
the which one?
76 spirits of the wind.
76 spirits.
I can start with 72, but I'll double check.
76, 72. Hey, man, you summon one demon, you got a whole freaking family of them, okay? But,
they come with their buddies.
Yeah. Hey, let's go. What did they say? We are Legion 6,000 or something?
I think so.
6,000.
Now, this is what happened to me. We went to this bar in Manitou Springs. We got called because there was a disturbance. So when we got there, there's like 4 patrol cars. And most of the cars had 2 cops in each. It was at night, so we had double cop. So at that point, I was the first one to approach these guys standing outside. Now, when I walked up to them, I was just talking, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" We try not to be hard asses. It doesn't get you anywhere. So I walked up and said, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "Nothing." And he had 2 men standing with him, and he had a young girl. And so I got to talking to him. Said, "Well, I don't know what happened. We're gonna have to talk, see if we can sort this out." He goes, "Do me a favor," and I was like, "Okay." He goes, "You're not gonna shake my hand?" And I was like, "Okay." I mean, there's cops everywhere. I'm not afraid to do this. So I said, I went to shake his hand. He held onto my hand for a second. He goes, "When you pull your hand away, close your hand, make a fist." I said, "Why?" I thought maybe this guy was gonna say I tried to hit him. He goes, "No, I want to show you something." So I did. Now this is like me touching your hand here, just like that. That's it. So I pulled away and I went like this. He goes, "I got the magic words to say." And I was like, "Yeah." And other cops started laughing, and the guys he was with started laughing. And he goes, "Now, turn your hand upwards." So I put my hand out like this, and had it upwards, and he said some words which I did not understand. He waved it over my hand. He goes, open your hand, and I did, and this red ball came out of my hand and started floating up. Every cop there saw it. The citizens standing by did. I freaked out. And I just jumped backwards, probably a good 3 or 4 feet. I was like, what the hell was that? He goes, I have so much more I can show you. And then he said he was a Satanist, practiced the arcane arts. And I was like, holy cow, and all these other cops. We didn't even go into the bar to find out what the complaint was. Okay, we just talked to him and said, okay, don't do anything. And we took off. I mean, it was so out of the ordinary, so unexpected, that we did not know what to do, and I was the one that had it done to me.
Well, these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, okay, because it definitely made an impression on me. What was that all about?
You could technically view that as a manifestation of energy. Everything isn't necessarily visible on the human wavelength, like I'd said before. But there's times where people can do things like, say, experience auras, where an aura is technically what's viewed as your life force, your emotions, your energy, what's around you. What it breaks down to is it's a bioelectric field that's around you that's let off because we're still essentially giant machines, and we operate on an electromagnetic wavelength. Going on ahead and doing something like that could have just been a projection of him making your aura visible, or him manipulating his own aura. And it's rare, but it can technically happen. A lot of the time, the holy glow that's behind saints and deities, everything like that, that's a manifestation of aura because it's so prominent that it's actually visible on a human wavelength.
Well, isn't that what happened when Christ was with the people, healing the people, and a lady wanted to get up to him so badly, and the other people wouldn't let her in because they said she was basically pariah because of something she had done or allegedly done. And she crawled and she touched his robe from behind, and he spun around and said, who touched my robe? I felt the energy go out. No.
That's a manifestation of aura in itself. It's being able to detect someone else's aura. There are also people that can go in ahead and can withdraw their aura too. It can be done with training, or it can be done naturally. For people who are psychic vampires, that's one of the ways that they generally will feed. If it's not based on emotions, it's pulling the energy away from someone else.
Really?
A lot of the time, if you come across someone that can legitimately practice, you'll notice that you're tired more, that you have less energy, that you're lethargic, you're getting sick more often.
I'm like that all the time. I don't think that's stupid. My aura is like, I'm an asshole.
I mean, it could just be that you're a giant grump, and that's about it. But you know what?
Hey, thank you.
But you know what? That makes perfect sense. That our essence of who we are, it is beyond our corporeal being here. And that there's that field that exists outside of us. It's our bubble. And when we feel it, when you think about it, and we call it our space. And when someone invades your space, and you become uncomfortable because they're getting a little too close to you, because now they're touching your essence. They're within your space. And Dylan and I were talking before the show. And we were talking about some friends of ours and some things that we try and help people, and I've tried to help people, and I've noticed that when I'm trying to help someone who is feeling paranoid, they're feeling negative, I feel it. In fact,
I know you do.
I have to limit my exposure because I feel the paranoia taking a grasp on me. And because I know myself so well, I go, you know what? This isn't normal. I'm feeling a little odd. I need to clear my head, clear my space a little bit, because it's just too much for me.
I've known you for many years, and yes, you do. You can pick up on stuff. You're like my younger brother. Can pick up on all manner of stuff, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit because I can tell. It's like, oh, what's up with you, man? And you'll tell me something, and you're acting that way.
Now, That is considered a form of empathy. However, that's also something where there's other cues too. Humans not only have the capacity to energetically feel out and sense those things or be affected, but there's also body language and psychology that goes into it too. If you start noticing patterns in people, if you notice patterns that others have experienced in similar situations, then you can go on ahead and you can experience them yourselves just because that's how our subconscious works. Being able to consciously tell if you're an empath can be very difficult for some time. A lot of people that have empathy more commonly have bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, because they don't know how to rein in others' emotions and they're having problems with their own. So it just leads to a constant downward spiral.
Well, I've talked to Marty, and we have a good friend named Doug, and he's heavy in works in law enforcement and stuff. And I've asked them many times because I've been doing radio for over 25 years. Insights with Dr. Michael Coots, After Dark with Dr. Mike, a couple other shows, and it's always been international. We had callers from France, Germany, Spain, England, Canada, America, and they were great. But I had lots of death threats over stuff that I had said that people took as offensive or I was making fun of them. And like we talked prior to the show, I am not disrespecting anyone, but I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to fuck with you. So I'm going to see how far you'll go.
Exactly.
But I have like all these death threats and stuff, and I'm like, some of the people just come up and they're like, you're an asshole. I don't even know this person. I don't even talk to these people. And they're like, oh, you're just a fucking asshole. And I'm like, what did I do? You know, I mean, if you're going to hate me, tell me why you hate me. Learn to hate correctly, okay? Tell me why you hate me. Tell me why you dislike me. Because I've done nothing to you.
Maybe it's part of you making sense, and they're experiencing cognitive dissonance.
Jeez.
I mean, that could be it, or they could have just had a bad drink at the start of the day and still haven't come off their hangover.
Oh, my God. Speaking of which, dude, you gotta stop smoking that opium, okay? I'm starting to get like really buzzed over here, all right? I'm going to be chewing on this microphone, you know?
I think that'd be bath salts, but I'm pretty sure that's us that would have to worry at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
And hey, I'm the one in the corner here. I don't want to have to go out the window.
It's
true. So, I mean, it's all good until I pass out, then, you know.
I mean, we'll at least make sure to show the camera your face afterwards and everything we've drawn on it, so.
Just don't carrot me, okay?
Promise we won't.
Yeah, you remember that one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Drop your pants and shove a carrot up your ass. You wake up and you got a carrot in your ass. Yeah.
Yep.
Whoops.
That's totally uncool. Totally
It's
uncool.
more fun to do it to someone with ice cubes.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. You're talking about having a freaking heart attack or something, man. Or that, or you like lay there and you like put your dick on their forehead.
For you, it'd be a pineapple.
Pineapple?
Funny.
Oh.
Thank you. I know not to fall asleep around you for a few nights
I
now.
do not want to know what that's about, okay?
There's also a little Nicky reference
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
It's with the, didn't they?
with Hitler.
Yeah, with Hitler.
Yeah.
It's a continuing Hitler meme. I think South Park did it.
Yes,
too.
South Park definitely did it. I remember exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Yes.
See, mine, that was just something that we went on ahead and we had done to a friend of ours when he had gotten a little bit too past inebriated.
A pineapple?
Not the pineapple.
I was going to
that was
say, that's called trauma.
That was me. I done the pineapple.
You did a pineapple on Sunday?
Yep.
Wow.
This conversation has taken a way left turn, okay?
Okay, well, we said we had to offend someone today, so evidently it's not necessarily going to happen with the topic, but...
Now, was this a small pineapple?
Yeah.
A large pineapple?
Yeah, big.
You actually...
With like the stalk and everything?
You would be surprised what can fit in the human body, unfortunately.
Especially when they're inebriated off of absinthe. And
Absinthe. That's some good shit. Hallucinate and get drunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's interesting, too, because they used to have these little things you put over the top and you melt a sugar cube, the way it tasted and all this stuff.
The melting spoons, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite drinks. I've actually got quite a few of them myself.
My oldest brother has a skull, a spoon skull, and uses that. You know, I don't even want to fucking know where he gets it from or anything else, but absinthe is. I don't know if they can sell it here in America that has the hallucinogenic qualities. You sure?
I have some. So does he.
Well, guess
Yep,
where we're going after the show.
It's it's a little bit more on the expensive side, but you can still have a small legal amount of the wormwood. Of course, it doesn't.
Wormwood.
It doesn't have the laudanum anymore for obvious reasons, but
Well, that sucks.
they have to take the fun out of it somewhere.
No.
Laudanum, that's some good shit. That's like pure freaking opium with a little bit of cocaine in it to keep your heart going, and alcohol is a base, you know. And in the old days, that was like the number one cure for everything from menstrual cramps to migraine headaches to my finger hurts, you know. And the docs and the pharmacist was like, "There you go, here's some laudanum." And people would get off on that stuff.
I'm having a bad day. Can I get
here's
some
laudanum. Yeah, take that. You know who one of the biggest? We're going a little bit off rail. But one of the biggest abusers of that was?
You've got quite a few. Anton LaVey loved it. You have, Rasputin. He was known to be fond of it, too, the Mad Monk.
Thomas Edison.
Edison was fond of it, too.
That explains a lot.
That's why he had to steal all of his freaking ideas from Nikola Tesla.
Ding, 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 ding.
You know? Tesla should be the one credited with the light bulb and everything else that Edison created. Don't get me started on that.
That would be a fun conversation in itself.
No shit. There's some real assholes in the history, you know. And Edison was not what he was even freaking. I mean, people say, "Oh, he was all that. He did this." No, he didn't. Yeah. He stole it from other people, and especially Tesla.
Yeah.
You know, and
he ripped Tesla off pretty bad.
Fuck yeah, I hate people like that.
But you know what? Let's steer the conversation back.
I mean, technically, this is a good jumping point. A lot of people can say that technology in itself is a form of magic, or rather that magic is just something that technology hasn't developed into yet. If you look at someone who had a car and you were from, say, the Dark Ages, or from the before Common Era, before Christ, however you want to refer to it, then of course it's going to look like a magical chariot that is running off of fire.
That's pretty cool.
Well, not just that. All religions have their magic. Christianity has miracles. You know, water into wine.
Walking on water.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about what some of the magic is in Satanism. What are some of the powers that you can practice within the religion, if it's possible to talk about? I don't want to, get anybody in trouble or doing it.
I don't belong to any group, so I don't really give a fuck.
Okay.
And again, I'm an omniist, so I'll go ahead and I'll step on anyone's toes. Just give me the right boots.
No, it just depends on what sect of Satanism that you practice. I study chaos magic, hate magic, sex magic, and blood sorcery, and a little bit of candle magic.
So
Candle?
A little bit more on the ritualistic side for things.
Okay.
You have atheistic Satanism as well, where you've got lesser magic, which is essentially considered glamour.
Manipulative words.
Yep, it's persuasion. It's being able to go on ahead and convince someone either by a minor exertion of will, and that in itself is a type of magic, or by actively practicing a type of glamour, which it sort of depends on the sect again. And then greater magic.
High magic. High magic is more manipulative with ritualistic dogma. It's basically just dramatized rituals. The Church of LaVey does it a lot with Peter H. Gilmore, who does not look too friendly. He kind of looks like a pedophile to me.
Whoa!
Well,
yeah, okay. That's
that went on ahead and went 0 to 60.
Yeah, I don't really have any respect for the LaVeyan Church whatsoever due to they're just mocking Christianity.
I mean,
He's got good philosophy and good teaching, but I just don't agree with its mockingness.
It
We
is.
should have respect.
I mean, it was really made so that LaVey could establish something that was his set of philosophies in a defined religious outline. Of course, there's the principles of high magic, lesser magic. You have the... How many tenets, again?
You got the 9 satanic statements, the 11 rules of the earth, and then you got the 10 tenets of the hidden abyss.
So, multiple practices about not harming others.
Don't harm children, no sex with children, no sex with animals, no harming animals. If someone murders your relative, you have a right to murder their relative, eye for an eye. If someone attacks you, you can attack them. Respect others' homes.
See, that's respect. I actually like that. Those are not bad tenets at all.
No,
Just common respect and common sense.
And it's good principle, but really it can't truly be defined as a religion because it's more of a philosophical mindset, and very few people actively practice the magic side of it. Now, of course, there are people that are Luciferians, theistic Satanists, or demonists that don't worship Lucifer himself, but other ancient deities like some stray, like ancient Ur and Chalcedon, remnants like Molech, or people that still worship like Baal and Astra, but not as demons.
I have to jump in because my friend Charlie and I were talking about that last night. That's the only what we were going to do. That's when Marty had set up and you guys were going to come. And he said exactly the same thing you just said. You know, does every Satanist and Luciferian worship Lucifer, or do they worship like Mephistopheles or Baal or what you were just talking about?
Well,
and what the hell is Moloch?
Moloch is an ancient, if I remember right, Chalcedonian fire deity that was active in human sacrifice. It's viewed as mainly being worshipped in Abrahamic times.
Is that what they claim is that statue at, what's that place in California where everybody goes to once a year, like all the presidents and governors and rich people, and there's that giant owl.
That one
Something Springs or Grove?
Bohemian
Grove.
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove, that's it. Is that, they say that owl, I actually heard Justin Bieber, of all people, said that was Moloch. Is that what Moloch was supposed to be, a giant owl?
For that one, there's not exactly a lot of artifacts left from that time to get a clear definition. It's
What
more
time was it from?
Would have been Abrahamic, so we're looking at really, really, really early days of Judaic tradition. This was back when technically Israel hadn't even really been established, of course.
So we're talking thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, so hardly anything is left to go off of for imagery, and of course back then a lot of pictoglyphs weren't left in the best conditions, and the cities are still just barely being uncovered. So it's safe to say that it just looked like a giant monster, and that would be about the most cohesive answer that you can get from piecing things together.
Okay, that takes me back to something else. In the Bible, it says that Lucifer was the most beautiful of all angels. Yeah. And he was in charge of music and second in command, and all this stuff. Why is he, or it, I don't know if angels were males or females, okay? They were, in the Revelation says they're beings of light. So I don't think they'd have a penis, okay? Maybe not.
I mean, they could have both.
Okay,
you never know.
That's true too. So why is he portrayed as this horned creature with the pointed tail and fire, and all the other demons are horrible? Like in Faust, he called Mephistopheles, and Mephistopheles' first choice to appear was as a rotten corpse with maggots, and Faust turned away and said, "Go back and reappear to me in a more pleasing form." And he came back as a monk. And isn't he? I mean, why? If I was the most beautiful of all angels, hell, I'd be strutting it, man.
Well, you have different areas of demonology too. For people that practice more Luciferianism, you have the fallen, and then you have demons that were under their command.
But why are they always portrayed as horrible, ugly creatures? They could be like, if a demon wanted my attention,
A lot
appear
of
as fucking like Kirsten Starms from General Hospital or something, man. I'd be like paying all manner of attention.
Well,
I'd be like, yeah. What do you want me to do? Kill my neighbors? Okay, I'll be right back.
there's a few there's a few different ways that you can look at it. For the way that I see it, you're forcibly making something that's a being of energy that doesn't necessarily operate on the same plane of existence come to this one, so we don't necessarily know what their own experience is. But if you look at the traditional Christian viewpoint, or at least the black magic aspects that follow it, usually they're pretty pissed off when they get there. So if you
Wait,
were
you
having
like summoned? I'm not going to say me, but somebody else, like Marty, summoned a demon or something. They would be pissed off when it got there.
You've got benevolent and you have harmful demons. There are demons that have to be restrained with certain principles and practices based upon the religion and faith that you go ahead and do. It's a lot the same with creating thought forms in Indian Hindu tradition and traditional Indian tradition,
That's
where
true.
you have to be cautious of how long you let one exist. Otherwise, it can turn malicious because it's been in the world too long. Or you have, this one's probably going to irritate people, Navajo tradition with Naglosh, which are shapeshifters that taught the skinwalkers how to do what they did. But they were originally beings that were sent to guide people along a holy path, a lot like how angels are described in Christianity.
If I were to go down that path, would you mind moving in with me? You know all this stuff, man. You know, I like, should I or shouldn't I, you know?
But needless to say, would you want to go on ahead and show up as something happy, or would you rather try and scare the piss out of whoever went on ahead and dragged you there?
No? Definitely do me.
Especially if I'm making pizza. I'd be pissed.
If you think about it, you would go on ahead. You don't necessarily know if they've got day-to-day lives. They could have had dinner in the oven. They could have left the stove on.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so weird that he's talking like Charlie was saying that last night. He goes, well, what if you summon a demon and he's taking a shower and he has to come? He's going to be really pissed.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
True. What if he's in the middle of, you know, some
Getting some demon ass.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and he's not allowed to finish, and all of a sudden now he's in front of someone who wants stuff. He's not going to be in
I
a
guess
good
if
mood.
he shows up and he looks me in the eye and goes, what the fuck do you want? I'll be like, nothing?
Yeah.
They probably get more pissed, though.
Now, what are the reasons why someone would want to summon?
Good question.
For
Real good question.
Stupid reasons. For power, to get a girl, to be famous, money, wealth.
Lot of
You get a lot of that in
Yeah.
the African culture.
Sort of like the crossroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that from Africa. I get so many requests a day from Africa to make them rich and to join the Illuminati. I look at them through video chats like, you're a fucking moron.
Now,
That's insane.
on the opposite side, then there's also people that summon demons for information, for knowledge like alchemy, for knowledge like how to. Well, that's what Faust was originally trying to go
Right,
ahead and accomplish.
exactly.
He was trying to transmute lead into gold, and then you have people that want to trap it into a vessel to go on ahead and remove it. Technically, those are more demon hunters that don't practice Christianity or Luciferianism, but kind of just have their own hodgepodge cobbled together thing.
I imagine that would really piss off a demon.
Yeah,
Or the small group of them that call themselves the Vessels, who just want knowledge to let a demon take part in their everyday lives, but it really screws them over. I've got
No
some
doubt.
experience in that. That was
You
a
do?
big mistake.
You do?
Yeah, it involved a blood sacrifice and a lot of harm.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's some heavy shit right there.
And it wasn't always helpful.
a lot of the time when a malevolent demon is summoned, it's either because the person thinks they can control it to bend to their will, so bring them objects, bring them affection, going ahead and cause harm to someone else, essentially just act as a common servant even, and then you also
That's what Solomon
Who
did.
wants
Yeah.
for knowledge.
Exactly.
And then you got me that's wanting to do an experiment real soon on sharing a day-to-day life with one of these very evil, powerful things to see what happens.
Yeah. And it usually doesn't go well for people. I've seen and I've done a couple of exorcisms on people that I've seen that have run into those forces, and I mean, it's distinct from a psychosis or a psychotic break, because you can tell the changes are almost immediate. You could argue that it's bipolar or schizophrenia, but if a person has never had a pattern of it and suddenly, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, shit starts going on ahead and turning crazy to the point where you have the marks and lesions that typically are associated with rosacea appearing 9 times out of 10, if they don't have any medical history of that and they don't have any known reason for doing it, you're looking at someone who's either messed with something bad or let something bad in. Now, another thing that can happen with demons and with people that just encounter them, rather than even actively searching for them or summoning them, is if you have a tendency for psychoses, or if you have a tendency for self-harm, drug addiction, substance abuse, you're more likely to get possessed as well.
Or if you're my little brother and play with Ouija boards.
Yeah, that too. Open
You know,
portals.
I have to tell you, and I know I've told you about it before. When I was in high school, there was an individual who was in high school, very good friend of mine. To this day, we've known each other way over 40 years. And he was a self-proclaimed satanic priest. And I didn't get involved in that. You know, he can do what he wants to do. So I was not whatever, but he asked me to come to his house. And I did, and there's a bunch of other people there. And I said, what's going on? He goes, I'm going to show you something. And then I said, well, who are these other people? And he goes, I don't like them. And he goes, I'm going to do something to get back at him. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we went down to his basement. There's this giant pentagram on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I said, what are you doing? He told me to step into the pentagram with him. I was like, oh, my God, this is some weird shit. You know, whatever. If he wants to play the game, we'll play the game. He summoned something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the police came, the fire department came, the neighbors. This was something that terrified me. I physically saw it with my own 2 eyes. I did not like it. I never, ever went back to his house. And that shit was real.
It can be. I mean, like I said, I've done a couple exorcisms myself. I've seen quite a bit of interesting behavior. One of the nicest people that I knew back in high school when we were more actively ghost hunting had gone with me at a site that's torn down now. It used to be the old YMCA.
Okay.
He didn't even step in the building. He didn't want to go near the building. He was waiting outside. None of us had any idea what happened except for the person who was also waiting in the car because he was too afraid in general to step on property just because he was that superstitious. We get outside, and then you can instantly tell it was like a different person was standing there waiting.
Oh, Jesus.
And he perfectly described something that all of us had seen at a later point. And it looks like a decaying creature on one side and a normal human on the other. Just covered in rags. And every single one of us saw it afterwards. But almost immediately when we had left that property, his speech pattern had changed. His behavior was more erratic. He was talking about violence with others. He was definitely not driving rationally. He was going about 70 down the little roads over by South High School.
Well.
And went on ahead, drug him out to Pueblo West, and made sure that we had him until I could get whatever the hell was in him out.
Now, did he invite this thing in?
He evidently went on ahead and he had said yes out of fear, which can also happen sometimes, which is one of the other reasons why demons can use shock factor.
Oh, wow.
You can
some crazy shit, dude.
So, in other words, pretty much everything that you're describing so far is stuff that we see on television every day in the media. It's like it's an invoking machine to make people, how would you say, vulnerable to these entities.
That's actually a fairly accurate statement. The more fear, the more panic, the more distress that an individual or society are in. Sorry on that one.
Get that microphone.
But the more distress that an individual, society, whatever is in, then the more apt that people are going to be susceptible to infestation and then possession.
Wow. So it's almost like we're kind of being set up.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to go on the edge here.
All right.
Okay.
Do it.
This is probably going to upset a lot of people.
Good.
Fun.
So
it's always fun.
I want to contemplate something.
Okay.
Let's do a what-if analysis. Call it a conspiracy theory, call it whatever you want. But what if? So we've got this talking box that perpetuates fear, uncertainty, doubt, but also lust, right? Envy, because you watch these rich people on TV and you go, ooh, I want that house. I want that car. I want all these good material things. And by wanting that, you're kind of entrapping yourself, right? But now here's something else to ponder. What else does this do? So just a couple of weeks ago, we had, back on the 14th.
Right.
We had a shooting. Okay. Now, not just shootings, but every year, besides shootings, besides all the gun violence and everything else, and a lot of the gun violence that has to do with crime and everything else is based out of materialism, right? Fighting for stuff. It's over drugs, it's over money, it's over power, right?
Correct.
Now, one of the other things that happens every day is that children are killed. Unborn children.
Oh, dude, yeah. That's
okay. Now, Christianity has a long history of sacrifice, burnt offerings, etc. Now, I know Christianity isn't the only religion that has something that has mention of sacrificial.
Correct. You've got ancient Grecian myth. Right. You have Native American traditions that will say offer sacrifice of crops, of an animal during times for shamanic traditions and practices. You've got Japanese cultures where burnt offerings were a very common thing. Same with a lot of the very mixed and eclectic ancient Chinese myths. You even have things that go back to more recent times that are technically viewed as primitive religions. The Stone Age tribes out in New Guinea that were discovered, I think it was in the 60s or so, they would still practice human sacrifice and cannibalism.
Right. Now, my question to you both. Say someone was unscrupulous. Okay? They had a clinic where people are going to come to them to get rid of and terminate unwanted pregnancies. And say, underneath this procedure table, they had an altar.
Oh, dude.
Okay. Or whether it's underneath it or above it. Hey, Dr. Mike, we talked about this.
I know.
We talked about pushing some buttons here.
I know. I didn't know you were going to do it. I'm glad you did.
So,
in fact, I have a lot of respect for you doing it.
How much power could be gained or attained through such numerous sacrifices?
Wow.
Depending on the practice, considerable. It would come down to the spirituality itself. There are also people who have more of a capability to harness the energy than others. So saints, the greater shamans, Native Americans talked about turning into birds or beasts of the land.
Right.
But, I mean, theoretically, on that note, it also depends on
because
a lot
think
of the
about
person's
it.
Potential energy.
Even if it is a marginal amount of power that you're gaining by sacrifice. Okay? Now, consider this. Over 325 lives are taken every year. 325,000 lives are taken every year. So even if the amount of energy or the amount of power that you get is marginal, just the sheer number.
That's over 1,000 a day.
Right. So could that be a thing? Do you think that that's a possibility?
No, you're actually in a really dark area of practice with...
There's a bunch of practitioners I know that are abortion clinic operators who actually do practice.
Oh, dude. You shouldn't have
the
told
old
me that.
Moloch traditions where an unborn fetus is considered the purest of souls.
Because it's right from the guff, which is the vault of souls.
And then you get the Santisima Morte religion. They do sometimes practice, but it's with black candles for death. And despair. And then eventually they'll go home, light a green one, and bless their home for that sacrificial thing.
There's also...
Then you got someone who's a friend of mine who works in Oklahoma morgue, who's a necromantic type.
Oh.
Yeah, necromancy, that's an area...
But you guys have a hell of a time when you have a party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I do.
That's an understatement, but...
So, just before we continue, I notice when I bring this up, I notice that Mike is a little uncomfortable.
Well, I just know what's going to happen.
Both of you
is because I know what's going to happen.
Are a little uncomfortable as well. So before we go on, is this something that I should erase from the show
No.
before we...
No, definitely
Absolutely
not.
not.
This
Absolutely
is,
not.
This is something that is technically possible, and it can be incremental or exponential. There we go. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm probably going to
Yeah.
get a lot of death threats later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's sort of like us having a conversation right here between me and him, and we're like poking each other. I'm gonna poke you. I mean, he's gonna poke me, and then Dad comes up and says, "I'm gonna take a fucking baseball bat to your head." He goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna take a fire axe to your gut," because that's some serious stuff. And when you start talking, I knew you were gonna do it. We talked about it, but just in the back of my mind, I'm going, "Oh boy, that's gonna get a few comments."
Right. But,
It's entirely.
we're discussing things that are...
But most people don't want to discuss. They're stupid.
Exactly.
They're
And-
hollow. They're ignorant. They're ignorant.
And it needs to be brought up. It needs to be brought up. So, yes, it is technically a possibility that if a black practitioner of anything was strong enough and had the resources to contain the energy, that could keep building up over time. Now, how they're able to use it still depends on what they practice and what their own energetic potential is, what they're able to utilize, and how much of it they can utilize.
But we come out of theory and into practice. Like Alex just said, he knew somebody that actually had this clinic, that actually practiced this, and then used that aborted fetus as a sacrificial type thing. And so it's no longer just a theory. He actually freaking knows somebody. And I'm sure,
Well,
like
it's-
Marty said, there's a lot of people like that.
Well, think about the old honor farm.
Yep.
Oh,
They
dude.
finally raised the honor farm after there was an individual that took his small child and sacrificed him on a rock out there.
Yep.
And he basically killed his infant. And that was
For power.
enough
Yep.
for everybody to say, you know what? No, this place it's got to go. We've
And-
got to do something about it.
That's another place I've seen things happen out over
Oh.
walking around the edge of the fence. What I was training some people in how to go in ahead, sense energy, detect spirits, do the old-fashioned type of ghost hunting. And one of my friends that was with me was literally pulled from the center of his torso on one side of the path and straight down the hill on the other side.
I'm going to go sit on the rock.
What? What did you say?
He wants to go sit on the rock.
You want to go sit on the rock?
Morbid curiosities.
Let's see what happens.
I mean,
I'll
there's
take a picture.
the Courtner house too out here. That's another great example. Guy lost his mind. His entire family wound up dead, and pretty much the place is razed to the ground. But hell, there's even simple things. Folks, I'm not recommending that you do this, and this is not something I can say myself has been done. But if you go onto the property right past the gate on the left side, by where the drainage ditch is, the first second that you step in, you can no longer hear the running water.
Wow.
Well, that's something I won't be doing. So
Just like you go into the Amityville house, you go into the middle of the room, you don't hear the outside cars going by. You don't hear anything.
Wow.
You have to go in by yourself.
Yep.
You have to live there by yourself. I know the guy who owns it, he won't sell it to anyone. I tried to buy it. He refuses. He wants to tear it to the ground, but
You've even got
Would that help?
no.
no.
Well, yeah,
You
I
have
didn't
to-
think so.
It'd make it worse.
But that happened in what you were talking. Or I'm talking about the baby. The baby
Here,
being killed.
yeah. Oh,
Oh, that happened in New Mexico. The guy drove out into the desert, had his baby with him, had a van. He sawed the baby's head off at the neck, and 2 New Mexico state troopers pulled up on him and caught him in the act.
now, some
I
people,
mean-
some people
Wow.
do it just because they're nuts, but other people do it for power because a child's life is untainted. It's raw potential energy, and
And the pure soul that's got no sin.
So, but let's take this full circle, okay? So you're talking about someone who is doing this ritual to gain power, and he's
Yep.
killing his child, okay, with a saw. But he also gets caught, okay, and obviously bad things happen to him after he got caught. I'm sure he
sure,
didn't
yeah.
go to like jail and then receive a whole lot of power in jail. But in other words, these things have consequences as well, because pretty much everything that all religions has they basically have a form of karma, right? Even in Wicca, there's the threefold law. There's universal justice. There's right and wrong. There's negative. There's positive. There's the left-hand path.
It comes down to simple physics. Energy, no matter how it's gained, no matter how it's stored, whether it's supernatural or whether it's something that we can physically experience, does abide by specific sets of rules. And one of those is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Right. Yeah.
However,
Right.
there's also some people that can circumvent that because the opposite reaction doesn't always happen to you. It's kind of like looking at butterfly effect. The butterfly flaps its wings, and then you get a hurricane on the other side of the world.
Well, if you take what you're saying and you apply it to how our world currently looks, that kind of explains things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's because we have 325,000 every year, and it seems that
That's just in America, right?
Yeah, and our world just gets crazier and crazier. And are you guys familiar with a man named Geordie Rose?
Yep.
I think he just mentioned his name a while ago.
So Geordie Rose is this person who works for a company called D-Wave Technologies.
Yep.
D-Wave Technologies works on quantum computers, and they have contracts with 3-letter agencies, Defense Department, and basically they're using these quantum computers and artificial intelligence to, as Geordie Rose talks about it in his recruitment videos at places like MIT and others, he talks about using these quantum computers to open up portals to other dimensions. And Elon Musk has been someone who has been slamming Geordie Rose for some time, and those like him, saying that AI is bad, it's demonic, it's going to have some repercussions that you have no idea what they are, but they're going to be bad. And Geordie Rose comes out and he says, no. This is not demonic at all. In fact, we're opening portals and we're pulling resources out of these other dimensions and bringing them here. But the entities that we encounter aren't demonic. They're more like, he says, they're more like the characters in H.P. Lovecraft novels.
Oh, that's not demonic?
Like Cthulhu. And I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on that?
So, on that, technically, one running theory that's got a lot of strong standpoints was that H.P. Lovecraft had written about the Necronomicon to actually bring knowledge to it, which I support. I believe that he did do that, which is the case because there are entities that are not necessarily demonic, that don't just follow the single religion of Christianity, where it's, straightforward. You've got the external spirits, and then you've got the fallen, etc., etc. Even the angels, technically, if you want to go back to an earlier point, weren't always necessarily the prettiest. There's the thrones that essentially looked like giant turning wheels, but you have other spirits, like you have creatures from Lovecraft, which are based on a lot of older, darker religions, such as, Moloch is an example.
There's the Temple of Azathoth, the followers of Nyarlathotep, Dawn of Cthulhu, Cathedral Sisters,
and
the Temple of the Old Ones.
Now, it's not necessarily to say all spirits are malevolent to human beings. There are benevolent spirits. You can't even necessarily say that the angels in Christianity were either one, because you have stories of them having some form of free will and determination. Right. But there are good spirits, like the old folk spirits in Nordic and Celtic and Gaelic traditions, where they would go ahead, come in, clean your house. Japanese house spirits, household gods. You can do things to anger them, or you can do things to chase them away, and then whatever good luck that you have goes away. But there's still positive forces, so it's not necessarily going to be that the beings that he encounters are malicious. I mean, you could see the ugliest person on the face of the planet and then be like, oh, that thing's a vicious monster, but in reality they're a sweetheart.
Right.
And then you can have entities that look like the most beautiful thing on the face of the planet that'll tear your head off.
Exactly. I have some exes like that, actually.
All my exes are like that.
Pretty sure it's about the same.
Wow. You know, one of my things is that, like I said, as Marty knows very well, a lot of the guests I like to just fuck with, just to see how far they go. But I kind of decided not to really fuck with you guys. Okay, so
Fair enough.
Well, we've been talking about some pretty dark things today.
Yeah.
no shit.
This kind of went into the really deep side of the metaphysic and holistic community.
Oh, indeed.
Now, for myself, I've explained this to you before too. That there's different types of energy. So, beings, entities, they all still technically follow a set of rules, and there are still exceptions to those rules. But the way myself and other people who practice the way that I do, that for me specifically, I astral travel and astral project. So for me, it's a separation between lucid dreaming and then actually leaving my body, not just to go across the physical plane, which is Terra, but to go into higher realms and interact with spirits. That's one thing where I've gone ahead and I've found out information and double-checked it later that I didn't learn from a human source or from a written source, but actually from something else.
You just opened a door for me, big wide door. A lot of the doctors that I have worked with have been my partners, and doctors that I know and I've talked to every one of them. I am a lucid dreamer. Mm-hmm. When I dream, I can smell, feel, taste. It's like I went from planet Earth to wherever it is I'm at. And they've given me all kinds of reasons. Say real hardcore lucid dreaming only affects 1 in about 6 million people. And all this stuff. I am a hardcore lucid dreamer. I have woken up and I was not sure. What was that? So based on what you're talking about, what you guys are studying and stuff, what would cause that outside of, I'm not psychotic, I don't think. I'm not insane, I don't think.
I would hope
I
I'm
have
not.
to ask Marty about that. But why would your mind do that to you? Because I'm literally like being able to touch, feel, smell, taste. I'm in a different place completely.
Your brain creates dreams based upon DMT and then, of course, collections of memories that you have gone ahead and made throughout your life. Technically, when you're dreaming, when you're experiencing something, every single face that you see in that dream is someone that you've either come across, seen in a photo. It's something that your brain's recreating, whether it's piecing it together and jumbling it up, or whether it's just a single individual. However, lucid dreaming, where you experience that, allows you to have more control and sensory perception during your dreaming. Now, the difference between lucid dreaming and astral travel is the corroboration of information. I'm not going to say that everyone that lucid dreams can astral project. It's not the case. And there's ways that you can learn how to do it. Nearly everyone can, but it's a matter of their energetic potential. It's a matter of how much self-control they have. But you have to be really careful in making those distinctions. It's a matter of corroborating information. Have you met someone else in that moment where you were, if you think you're lucid dreaming, and you're able to contact them and have a shared experience? For people that AP, that know how to, they can travel and have corroborating experiences and meet others out there. And it's not always the safest, because just like with everything else,
You get lost.
there's good and bad, and then you can also get lost.
I've had experience with my wife. Her name was Sharon Glenn Monroe. Everybody called her Gwen. She died approximately 5 months ago from brain cancer. And I have dreams where I have met her and I've taken her like a pet dog and stuff like that. And it's so real that I don't want to come back.
And that's a danger in itself, too. If you're actually astral projecting, then sometimes you can be lured away just because you found something that's so beautiful you don't want to go back, and then you can also find things that trap you there, too.
Or in my case, I find something extremely dark and want to stay.
Well, I have a quick question before we go, because we have like 3 minutes left. And this popped into my head because I had an argument with somebody over this a few days ago. In the vampire community, you have a set of rules.
Yeah.
And it's either the black veil or the blue veil. Which is it?
It just depends on which house you belong to. Everyone calls it the red veil, the black veil, the blue veil, the mystic veil, or the veil through the clear.
So we were both right.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I figured you would be the person to ask. Because he's like, no, they only have the black doll. I said, no, it's the blue doll. I remember the Masquerade. You know?
The Masquerade is a good game, but shouldn't be taken into seriousness.
Yeah, because I read that, and it's like, oh, you got the blue veil, blah, 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 blah.
It is a symbolic game that based the community a bit, but I wouldn't know much about that. More of Michelle or Father Sebastian, maybe Deacon Gray would know more about that origin because they're older than I am.
Well, I know only one person. Her name is Amy Ma. She's written several. You know Amy?
I know Amy.
Okay, and
I'm friends with Anthony and Amy on Facebook.
Oh man, Amy Ma is just.
She's got good articles.
Oh, I love talking to her, reading to her, and I asked her about what Justicars were and how you became one, and she goes, "Where'd you get your information?" I said, "The Masquerade," and she's like, "No,
yeah.
no."
Yeah, you don't.
So okay. Well, again, I'd like to thank Dylan and Alex for coming here today. I definitely want you guys to come back when Marty gets things set up the way it best fits him, because he is the expert in this stuff. I don't even know how to use my fucking iPhone, okay? And he knows how to use everything. So when he gets it set up the way, I would love to have you guys back. And maybe your friend who couldn't come today, I get him to deal with my tickets, okay? Because I tell you, if the demon came to me, I didn't invite it, I didn't call it, fine, screw it, I'm not afraid. But you bring up my lotto tickets, or you bring up Kirsten Starms from General Hospital, I'll listen. I'll do some talking. I'll be like, all right, let's talk, let's deal, So I'd love to have you guys back. Thank you so much for coming, man. It's awesome.
Thank you
You guys had more information than I thought was possible. And Marty, thank you for bringing that up about the abortion thing, because that is a heavy duty. I'm serious. That is a heavy duty thing. You got to think about that.
It's something that's not really talked about even in the communities either, because it's considered one of the blackest magics that there is.
Yeah, what do you do with the dead bodies? 300-some-thousand years. That's 1,000 a day, and that's only in America.
And that's what's reported.
You don't want to know what
going
happens
ahead
to
and think of it
bodies.
that way.
Right,
Right.
Thank you for pouring salt on that wound. All right, Marty, thank you again for setting it up and making it happen. And I want to say this in our first introduction show for the new one. I'm glad you're my partner. I'm glad we're 50-50. I don't think I could have found a better person anywhere on this planet than you.
Thank you.
You're knowledgeable, you're intelligent, and we have some 3-4 hour conversations when we go to the Golden Corral. We'll mention them too. So we do. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And again, I really want you guys to come back and think about it. And we'll have another microphone for you, okay?
I'll definitely be back.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Hey, no problem.
All right, Marty, you can take us out. I'm Dr. Mike, Mr. Marty, and we're not using our last names anymore. Dylan and Alex.
All right, thank you for
having
having
listening
us.
and watching.
See you next time.